Hey, welcome to the 416 podcast. This is the interview series. Today I'm sitting down with Caleb Bennett. And thank you for taking the time to be able to sit down together to talk about you and Natasha and the work that you're doing down here. We're in DeGaulle, with the DeGaulle Drive congregation for this weekend, but we're in New Orleans. And it's been an exciting weekend. And so thank you for sitting down and taking your time to do that, to take your day off to hang out with us. And but for those who may not know you, take a moment, just introduce yourself and your family and maybe a little bit about your background. Probably one of the first things you're going to pick up is you got a little bit of an accent. And so tell us why that is.
All right. Well, I'm Caleb Bennett, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm the preacher at the DeGaulle Drive Church of Christ, and I'm married to my wife, Natasha Bennett. And we have two children, Mickey and Cuba. Mickey is currently at Freed Hardeman University. Cuba is in middle school. And we are from Cape Town, South Africa. The accent.
There's the accent.
That's
why.
And took us 35 hours to come to the United States. That's kind of who we are.
When you think about, and we met you guys a couple years ago, and have enjoyed getting to know y'all, and we already count you as close friends, and so we're just so appreciative of your love for God. Your love for the church is very clear and evident to us the moment we met you, and you guys were just gracious to us, and just immediately just kind of open to us, and so that's always special. You when you connect people. When you have a connection, and so that was immediate, and so I just appreciate that with you guys. And so the more we sit down and get to know your background a little bit more too, those things we find that clearly our time in the Lord's church and our time in ministry, there's a lot of similarities to that, as we were talking earlier, off camera. And so let's talk about Memphis. And obviously, you're a graduate of the Memphis School of Preaching, but what brought you to Memphis, and how did you get there? Because I know to me, it's a fascinating story to think about the time frame of that, and there was even a delay in there as well. So any of that you want to talk about, I think is interesting. So,
yes, sure. 2017, the leadership of the congregation where I was at asked me if I would like to fill in for the preacher who had relocated. I then agreed to fill in for the preacher. I did that for some time, teaching and preaching, taking the role of the previous preacher. But I had no formal preaching education. My wife and I both come from a corporate background, and I knew that I was running on empty. I wasn't adding value to the church. And, those men could teach me a thing or two. So I knew I needed to be taught, and applied to the Memphis School of Preaching. 2019, got accepted, and we were looking forward to going. Before we could get to Memphis School of Preaching, COVID happened. And it just knocked us. And it was a difficult time, not only for me, but I guess for everyone in the country, around the world. And the school kept in touch with me, still wanting me to come, and we were still wanting to come, and it just never materialized because it just was not possible. The condition of the world at the time, financially, it wasn't possible at the time. And then in 2021, opportunities opened up for us to come over here, and it was daunting because we were not sure if it's a move we still wanted to make. It was a big risk, leaving our families and friends behind. We don't want any rewards for it, but we knew it was a risk. But the school has been so awesome, encouraging us. And then August 2021, we left South Africa and landed on the shores of the United States and started at the School of Preaching.
Well, and I know once that door opened, it happened pretty quick for you, you know, too. And so, and I know there was, and before when we were talking about kind of what COVID, going through that, and where you were financially when you were first looking at the school, you were kind of financially prepared to help in that process and to kind of be able to come to the States and to go to school and to do all those things. But COVID kind of, for better lack of terms, you kind of wiped you out, financially to be able to do that. And so that seemed to close a door at that time. And we were talking about even the fact that, and I think this is interesting because for a lot of us, going through the process of making a determination, choosing, okay, I'm going to go better myself for the work of ministry, to study God's word, to sit at the feet of these men, and to be prepared to do the work of an evangelist, and to be better ready to help and to add value. I like that phrase, to add value to the work in the kingdom and locally to a congregation. I need to train for that. I need to be better prepared for that. And so, but it looked like the door closed on that opportunity. And so, and as time goes on, you begin to ask yourself, well, is this really what I need to be doing? Yes. Is that door closing because that's not what I'm supposed to do? Yeah. Or then you get, and I appreciate the school, and you highlighted that, that the school reached out to you. And that wasn't one time, that was regularly. They were staying in touch with you to make sure that, hey, look, we want you to come, and we hope that's going to happen. And so then the Lord obviously opened doors to be able to make that happen. And I think that's great. And the fact that you guys came, I know that was a huge benefit to you, as it has been to every student who's gone through the school. Yes. And certainly we like to highlight those things for the school, and because we were benefited in that way, but we were also delayed in our coming, in a much different way. But certainly we were delayed, 11 years, before we came to the school. Yeah. And so those things happen, and I think prepare us for the timing that we did come to school was actually much better for us. Yes. And that may have been the same for you guys as well. I'm not sure. But so when you think about the school and the experience, so what was your experience? Now you come to the school as a foreigner and looking at the school probably in a much different way. So what was your experience, while you were at school?
When we spoke to former alumni of the school, mm-hmm. They gave us their experience, and they didn't tell us, the good, bad, and the ugly. And I'm glad, because I think it was important for us to have our own experience and not go on someone else's experience, because they could either tell you something that will make you want to come or not come.
Or not,
And so I'm glad we came on our own experience without any preconceived ideas, no judgments. Mm-hmm. And so our experience with the school has been amazing. Yeah. And I'm not saying that, because, I'm brainwashed in any way. Yeah. The school has been awesome. The school has been instrumental in us getting there. Mm-hmm. They supported us so well as students, the faculty, the staff. And so I'll always be a friend of the school. Yeah. And coming there for the first time, it was very welcoming. Everyone was so supportive, and they were very sensitive to the fact that we were coming from a different culture. Right. And I could tell, this staff, they are used to dealing with all kinds of students. This is definitely not their first rodeo. Mm-hmm. And I could tell in their support for my family and I. And we were never in want or in need of anything. Mm-hmm. Yes, it takes some adjustment, but we knew what we signed up for. Right. And it was some of the best experiences that we've had. The school is holistic. I think that's what drew us to the school. It wasn't just purely theory, but you experienced working with congregations, with the faculty, with elders, going on gospel meetings. It was holistic, and I think that benefited us tremendously.
Yeah, you get a lot of on-the-job training. That's the phrase we would typically use. But it is very holistic in that way. And I like that. When you think about the school and the classes that you go through, were there any particular classes that favorite-wise for you that really were a highlight, or maybe unexpected, that you were really that you really just loved and dug into and thought this is what I came for, that really met that need while you were in school?
Yes. I enjoyed the book of Acts because, that's the history of the church.
Sure, yeah.
And Brother B.J. Clark, I know he did that class for us. And surprisingly, Revelation. Dan Cates did that class with us. And Revelation was not as daunting as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic job in just breaking it down for us. Romans is a class I still won't teach. It was a bit difficult, but the instructors were so good in giving this to us in bite-sized chunks. And so those were my two
that stood out
stood out for me. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. I'm curious, and maybe this might be something you weren't necessarily prepared for when we talked about what we're going to cover, but the American Restoration Movement as a whole. I know we study that, as in one of our quarters that we cover in the second year with Brother Mosier, obviously, and and I know that the Restoration Movement as a whole was not just. I know there's the American part of that Restoration Movement. We study it going back further, obviously, leading up to even the Restoration Movement, in Scotland and in Germany and other places like that. Things that were already happening, and people were drawn back to Scripture itself. But what was your perspective looking at it? Coming from a different culture and a different background, looking at it through South African eyes, if you will, but studying that. What was your perspective and your kind of take, if you will, on looking at the Restoration Movement, the American Restoration Movement, especially as we study it through the Memphis School of Preaching?
It wasn't something that I was excited to do. Yeah. Because
it's a little different.
It's a little bit different, but once I looked at it as a history subject, it became interesting. And when I did my discussion on one of the missionaries, Alexander Cross, and he was the first missionary to Africa. He came to Liberia. He died an unfortunate death. But while in the United States, he united black and white when he preached. And so that was very interesting to me. Yes, we do understand that is not the inception of the church. However, I appreciate the history of the Restoration Movement because through that, the world got to know Christianity.
Absolutely.
If I think of South Africa, was started through American missionaries. My grandmother, she's the recipient of American missionaries from the Lord's Church. And in 1985, missionaries knocked on her door, and she obeyed the gospel. She preached the gospel to me, and 2 years later I became a Christian.
That's great.
And I met my wife in the church. So the knock-on effect of the Restoration Movement is clearly felt throughout the world. And it's something that we shouldn't knock, and this is what I've learned as a brother from another country about the Restoration Movement.
And that's why I had hoped that to be able to kind of highlight that when folks talk about the Restoration Movement, there are those on one side of it who are like, no, none of that really matters in the scheme of things. But the historical value of it is impressive to see. Going back to the seed is the Word of God. Going back to back to the Bible in that sense, and that promotion of that ideal is what we're trying to continue with people, who are steeped in denominationalism in our own country, but to see the effect of, hey, that caused missionaries to go to other locations, preachers to go into areas where the Bible has not, been promoted in that sense. Yes, there were denominations in those areas, but certainly in some of those areas, but to get, but to see the Lord's church planted in a location, I think that's impressive, and to be able to see that and to have that direct connection to that. And I appreciate you bringing that out, and of course I'm so glad, because now we're brethren, right?
Yes,
and that's the beautiful thing about the kingdom. So let's move to back where we are now. In New Orleans, the DeGaulle Drive congregation, located on the West Bank, of New Orleans. And think about when you're coming here, and I know there were some steps, obviously, to get here and everything. But the DeGaulle Drive congregation has had an influence with a lot of brethren, throughout the country, who know about the work at DeGaulle Drive because they've been supported in some way, because the mission effort from that congregation has had a great influence, I think, in the kingdom in so many different ways in the country, but also throughout the world. And so I think that's something. But now you're here, and you've been here about a year. Maybe a little over a year now, I guess.
December it will be a year.
December will be a year,
yes.
Okay. And so when I think about, your family coming here, and we were watching from the outside to see the movement to get you here, and all of that. And so we were excited, when that possibility was happening and what was taking place. We were just so excited for you, and to see your, I think the excitement of both Mickey and Cuba as well, seeing them and their excitement to be able to come here too.
Yes.
That was good for us to be able to watch a family being kind of placed in a location where they were going to be cared for, loved on, and so that was exciting for us to be able to see that, especially as we were starting our work. And so we were just kind of watching from the outside, kind of watching it happen, if you will. And so you kind of like the Truman story, we were on the outside watching you guys and all of it working.
Yes.
And but so let's talk about DeGaulle Drive and the work that you're involved in here. And so I know, looking at, you're almost a year into the work here. What were your expectations coming here, and how has that? How has that transpired into your goals for ministry in this area?
First, I need to say that God's providence is amazing, and we could not have foreseen any of this.
Yeah.
So regarding an expectation, I did not have an expectation. So if I were to say it's exceeded my expectation, but fortunately, DeGaulle Drive is sound.
Yeah.
We have sound elders. And what I appreciate about these elders is that they understand church governance, and they take care of all the operational issues relating to the Lord's church. They understand their role as stewards. And DeGaulle Drive, it has a reputation of being supportive of missionary works. And those missionary works are important.
Yeah.
But the church still understands that the works that is supported is to support these brethren in their work.
Right.
It doesn't stop our work. We've still got work to do.
Yeah.
The DeGaulle Drive church has been amazing in their support to my family and I. They have made us feel at home. In fact, New Orleans is a lot like Cape Town, where we're from. It's a lot of people, and we love being around people. And I mean, our city back home is 8 million people. And so this is nothing new to us. And we felt right at home immediately. And the work is a lot of work to do. And I just pray that the Lord spares us and blesses us to complete the task that's before us.
Well, and I think, and the point that you made, that this felt like home to you, not everybody would say that. Not everybody could say that, and so I think it's a great fit. That seems to be the case, hearing it as well from the elders and from members as well. And so we're excited for the work that you get to do here. There's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about the work and potential work. I think what goals do you have for the work here? And you and I have talked off camera, but speak to this. And you've already mentioned too. The elders do their work and allow you to do your work. So what is your role here? What goals do you have for ministry and for, especially, I know you're very evangelistic minded, and so speak to that a little bit about, what do you see and what do you hope to accomplish?
Saving souls.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And for the church here at DeGaulle Drive to continue supporting all the works, we need the church to grow.
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges that the churches have in the United States, many of them are very supportive of mission works, but they're not necessarily growing at a rate to continue those mission works.
Right.
So as the churches shrink, those mission works decline.
Right.
So as a preacher here, as an evangelist here, my role is also to help the church to understand their role. Now I know these brethren, they know their role, but I want to assist them with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so evangelism is at the forefront. I've been given a mandate by the elders, and there's a lot of detail in that mandate, and I try my best to fulfill that. But foremost is evangelism and preaching the gospel. Yeah. There's a lot of people out here, and so I have no excuse.
A lot of opportunity.
A lot of opportunity, yeah. And if I was in a country congregation where you have to drive from one home to the other, you think, okay, growth is slow. But in a city like New Orleans, there's enough people, to keep me busy.
Absolutely. And I love that mindset that both you and Natasha have, and I know you've instilled it in your children as well too, thinking about those that are right there around you, and the opportunity, and we're talking about, of course, and anyone who's ever visited, New Orleans knows how close the houses are, and stuff like that, can be uncomfortable for folks that are not used to it. But for folks who are used to that kind of environment, it makes getting to know your neighbors that much more important too. And then being neighborly opens the door for teaching the gospel. Of course, we know that. So, is there a difficulty? And I know you're only a year in, here, but is there a difficulty that you can see, or maybe an obstacle to overcome for the church in the community?
Maybe as an outsider coming in, I try to be diplomatic. I view the culture. Yeah. And the culture in New Orleans, just from my brief observation, is this is a kind of a party town where tradition is very important. They have Mardi Gras, there's sports. Yeah, sure. So that's really entrenched in the community here. And many denominations here as well. And so people are kind of set in their ways. They are set in what they do. There's a comfort zone. There's a regular process and procedure that they follow. And so you coming in with the gospel may not resonate with them, because many of them think, well, I'm not going to, you're cramping my style.
Right.
I want to do my sports. Right. I want to do Mardi Gras. I want to go to my church when I feel like going, Right. And so I think that's a challenge for any preacher of the Lord's church.
Yeah, I think so, and probably amplified in an area like this where that is the culture is the party.
Yes.
Is that lifestyle.
Yes.
and so forth, and so that certainly is difficult. As part of 416 Ministries, Cindy and I always try to ask preachers and preaching families, because of the difficulty in ministry that we face, and we know that it's an up and down thing for us, almost week to week. It can be that way, but certainly there are times where it can be very discouraging, disheartened. Where we just can kind of get down and almost down on ourselves. Can I do more? Is there what am I doing wrong? There's things that we work through in our minds, especially on Monday mornings, things like that. We're kind of going over the plays that happen on Sunday, and how that all worked, and the sermons and the teaching and the interactions with folks. And then we look at the work overall. Maybe it's not meeting expectations and things like that. And so what keeps you as a minister of the gospel, what keeps you going?
My family.
Yeah.
I guess the easier answer would just say, be the Lord. He gives me the strength. I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
But my family keeps me going.
Yeah.
I have an amazing, supporting wife.
Yeah.
She gets it.
Yeah.
She gets it. I never take it for granted that my children get it, because they've got their own lives to live.
Sure.
They are Christians, but I try not to put that pressure and expectation on them.
Yeah.
Dad's a preacher, so you have to, I expect you to live a certain way. And the aim is to teach them to love God.
Right.
So when they continue to follow the Lord, it's because they love Him, not because mom and dad said so. But my family keeps me going, and especially my wife. Those are my cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's great. Caleb, thank you for sitting down and letting me pick your brain a little bit and talk about the work here. But certainly our prayers with you and for your family as you continue the transition, to the States and the work that you're going to be able to do. I know Lord's going to continue to open doors for you down here. And so I just think that's wonderful. And what a great place to be, right?
Yeah.
And so what a great congregation. And they've been a blessing to us. And of course, they're one of our big supporters too, as well, in 416. We thank you for sitting down, taking a moment to watch the interview series on 416 podcast. We'll have all the information for DeGaulle Drive Church of Christ here in New Orleans, for information for Caleb. If you want to reach out to him, I'm certain that he'll be able to share that with us. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you further down the road.